Split Second, or as I like to call it, the Michael Bay movie of racing games. Split Second, or Split Second Velocity when it was sold in the UK, came out in May 2010, and as previously mentioned was brought out as a direct head-to-head going up against Bizarre Creations' Blur. The game had come from Disney Interactive's BlackRock Studio branch, formerly known as Climax Racing, who had previously developed the ATV Off-Road series, the older MotoGP games until 2007, as well as the criminally underrated Pure back in 2008, which may or may not feature in a future episode. The premise of Split Second is unique and certainly fits the times of modern media. You're a contestant signing up for a reality TV show called, guess what, Split Second. Roll credits. It's a reality show with a game show flavour to it, where you compete for points in a variety of car-based races and challenges to earn points, which unlock cars, and obviously the right to compete in future episodes, which is just a fancy way of saying the next level. Keep racking up the points and eventually you can enter the season finale, where you can be crowned Split Second champion, and probably score a wild night on the tiles with Kim Kardashian or something. The game has a 12-episode season, meaning 72 events, and I'd say there's a good 10 to 12 hours of content available here for you to try and get 100% completion on, even though you'll probably spend a fair bit more on it, which I'll explain more on later. Split Second doesn't play out like your average racing game though. The main gimmick of the gameplay is you have the ability to blow up the tracks and their preceding elements in order to generate shortcuts, destroy your rivals, and hopefully get to the front of the pack. You do this by generating power, doing things such as drafting, drifting, and getting airtime, and then you can let off the explosions via what the game calls power plays. Level 1 power plays would open minor shortcuts and relatively small explosions like with petrol stations, trucks, or the staged helicopters holding gas barrels. Yeah, it says a lot when blowing up a petrol station is considered a minor power play. Whereas a full bar of power sets off a level 2 power play, which either lets off an enormous explosion or incident like a crashing plane in the airport station, or basically dropping Titanic back into the ocean, or even changes the entire course via something spectacular like a collapsing tower or exploding dam, like something out of the Transformers movies. Some of these are ridiculous, and with the game cleverly designed to have a very minimalist HUD layout with everything below the car, BlackRock Studios does a pretty darn good job of immersing you right into the heart of the experience, and the corny narrator really does make you sound like you're on the set of a game show. The only thing missing is Bruce Forsyth and his Brucey bonuses. Graphically the game is solid, nothing too special, but the explosions and the vibrations make the overall experience great, more so than just the pure look. It's all in the little details and it works well with what the game's trying to do. A small shame that the game's environments have a lot of repetition. Is 3 Dockland Harbour style areas really necessary? But the game is pretty well represented on the whole. There's a small range of about 30 to 40 cars, each of them specialising in different areas. Some are easier to drift, some are faster than others, and some are designed to better take hits and withstand explosions without crashing. And that comes in handy because we'll be doing it a lot. Split Second is a game that focuses a lot on trial and error and learning the environments. You're never going to complete the game or make major progress in one sitting. The game is genuinely rather difficult, and you're going to have to learn the dangers of every layout and the best plans of attack in order to get the wins and rack up the points for the better vehicles. What makes that all the more frustrating is that the cars themselves aren't very rewarding to drive. Obviously, being an arcade racer, it's never going to be perfect or truly immersive, but it is really hard to find the sweet spot in most of the cars you drive. You'll be bouncing off the walls a lot, and drifting without going too hard, or not enough, is going to get irritating after a little while. Also, could we please stop making arcade racing games where it sounds like the cars have 50 gear transmissions that go on forever? Just because you don't have a speedo in your game means you can cut corners on things like this. It does get noticed. Unfortunately, the problems don't stop there. The game is fundamentally flawed. Don't get me wrong, I love the concept of Split Second itself, but it generates another big problem, and it's one that's plagued arcade racers for many years, and it's the amount of rubber banding the game has. What I mean by that is, the concept of no matter how fast you drive, the AI is always right on your tail, and in order for this game to be effective, it happens in excessive amounts here as well. Explaining further, you have to be in range of an opposition car in order to detonate a power play. So in order to keep the gimmick of the main game going, you have to have the AI cars be close to you as well so that they can use their power plays to try and make you crash. This makes the game fundamentally broken, and at worst, it could come down to sheer dumb luck as whether you win a race or not. This is frustrating for me. Not flat out game breaking, and the frustration never quite reaches a boiling point where I want to throw a controller across a bedroom in the style of KSI, but it does give you a sense of, did I win that race legitimately or did I just get lucky sometimes? In split second, you're either going to win a nail-biting close race or get completely blown out. There's no middle ground here. How very Mario Kart. Luckily, BlackRock Studios seem to have gotten the difficulty curve just about right here though, making the game difficult but never quite to the point where you want to stop wanting to play. That one more try mantra is a difficult one to get right in games sometimes, and I think they get away with it here. Furthermore, the game has a good amount of variety to keep the action going, for a range of different modes. Heck, even time trials are more thrilling than normal because of the fact the set detonates power plays around you just to keep you on your toes. There's also survival mode, where you try and gain points by overtaking trucks that are firing explosive barrels at you, and airstrike, where you dodge helicopter missile fire like something out of a James Bond movie, and later on in the series, air revenge, the chance to be able to redirect that fire back at the copter to destroy it. Very satisfying and a nice variety of modes to provide a decent change of pace. The game also has 8-player online multiplayer, and the game ran pretty well online from what I've experienced. With some free DLC, there's a good variety of events to keep you busy, and of course it's a fair bit more enjoyable as the broken AI doesn't exist online, so multiplayer is actually pretty fair as well, which might make it more rewarding to play on the whole. Speaking of which, Split Second essentially is that B- student you get at school that occasionally has flashes of brilliance. The concept is there, the vision is nice, and you can see the endgame and the potential, but ultimately the execution isn't quite there, and the game is only good when it could have been truly great. It's a shame BlackRock Studios got canned by Disney's restructuring, in a similar fashion to what happened with Bizarre Creations in the Blur franchise. Both games were flawed in what they were trying to do, but both also had amazing potential, and something I hope can be picked up again in the future one day. Because like Blur, Split Second 2 was cancelled by Disney before it was fully released. If you want some fast and thrilling action that you might not be able to put down despite its flaws, give Split Second a shot. Not really my cup of tea, but a good game nonetheless. I'll stick to firing red-coloured shunts out of my 250mph Vauxhall Astra Extreme on Blur instead. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you guys again soon for another episode of the Racing Game Chronicles. Sayonara.